Hi guys. So today I'm actually revealing the book that I'm going to be reading from. I'm not going to read that book, but I'm going to be sharing an edition that was done to one of my favorite books, which I got recently. If you haven't seen the reel that I created when I got these books, I will link it up in the description, or you can just if you're watching this from Instagram, I will, because I am gonna post it up on Instagram and YouTube. Normally I post everything on Instagram now, but yeah, I will link up. Otherwise, just check it out on the YouTube channel. I did share a reel when I got these book gifts. Excuse me, I am still recovering from my flu. So I got a book gift from a friend of mine, Miliswa. I shared my loot wish list, and yeah, I got 3 books, and one of them was a book that I was replacing, which grew legs. My signed copy grew legs a few years ago. I don't know who I borrowed it to. I did that mistake, but I've learned my lesson now. I don't borrow out any signed copies of any book. Actually, scrap that. I don't borrow out my books to people I don't trust, especially non-book people. Anyway, I digress. So I got the Yearning. I had it on my wish list because I wanted to replace that copy, but this is the paperback edition. I got the trade paperback in the beginning, the first edition, and this book has been reprinted I don't know how many times. This paperback was published in 2017, and it actually comes with a is it a pre, I don't know if it's a prologue. It's not. It's like a note from the author, my favorite author. Mohale Mashigo wrote From Sweet Valley High to The Yearning, which is in front, and I loved it because when I got the book, I just paged through to see if to actually go to the start of the book, because that's the first sentence of this book. Yeah, I'm gonna read what she's written to you guys for today's version of Friday pre-reads, pre-uploads, and then on Sunday we will have a live. I am gonna try and do a live, guys. Life happens, and sometimes I just need to step back, and I think I've been doing that. And yeah, sometimes you don't actually have the inspiration to create, and it's okay. So yeah, there will be times where I don't come on here and create, and it's okay. So yeah, I will see you when I go live. Let me rather say that. I'm thankful that the people have been staying on and watching old videos on my YouTube channel, on Instagram, and interacting with me still on the WhatsApp groups and everywhere else. I really appreciate everybody, and I love you all so much. Yeah, please subscribe, please continue to share, and please continue to buy books that you love, and let me know if you buy something that you enjoyed and watching from my platforms. So yeah, let me read quick because I only have like a few minutes to record this. Okay, From Sweet Valley High to The Yearning. My friend Voyo wrote one chapter, and then I would write the next one. That's how we started writing Sweet Valley High fan fiction. Of course, we didn't know there was a name for it back then. We were just obsessed with reading the books and writing our own stories. We had not planned to write Elizabeth and Jessica as racially ambiguous teenage girls who belonged in California, Sweet Valley, but were somehow living in our world, Soweto and Yeoville in Johannesburg. Girls like us didn't belong in books, so we ripped the ones from our books and pasted them through the magic of fan fiction in our pages. Every now and then, our favorite singers would show up as love interests, much to the delight of our teenage readers, who were our classmates. Many years before, I co-wrote racy fan fiction with Vuyo. I was reading Pippi Longstocking, Roald Dahl's books, and many others written for children. The school library was a sanctuary when other children became tiresome. Distant lands and children on adventures occupied my days and nights. The distance between me and the children in the books became very apparent when I read my first grown-up book, The Color Purple by Alice Walker. How this book ended up in my possession is one of those details blurred by memory and time. The Color Purple, to my complete surprise, was a book about black people. The only stories about black people I had encountered were panel storyboards made up of photos in the back of Bona or Pace magazine. The speech bubbles above the photos of young nurses were my guide as I taught myself to read. I didn't know I was looking until I found myself between those letters. Do any of us know we're looking till we see ourselves right there in the pages? All our complicated feelings, barely touched history and quirks coming alive in words. There in the pages I saw myself in the color purple, sitting alongside Sally, watching the drama unfold, laughing when Mr. is finally left by himself and crying when Sally and Shug finally reunited. Perhaps Vuyo and I were painfully folding ourselves to fit into the books we loved so much. Nobody was writing about our childhoods in apartheid South Africa or about how confusing it was suddenly to discover that you're a sexual being and have no guidance, just urges and questions. The world of black teenagers in South Africa was missing from the literature we had. Yes, later in high school, it would be Titi Dangaremba who would unfold some of the literary corners I had reduced myself into. Miss Simlet, my high school English teacher, introduced our class to nervous conditions. There they were, people I could be related to. My uncle was Zimbabwean. These people occupied the entire novel, and it was about them. The minor details were included too. These young African women were spread out through the pages, revealing their beauty and shadows. Their families were so much like the ones I was linked to through neighborhood or blood. Sweet Valley High fan fiction died when Tambu entered my life. It was Ways of Dying by Zakes Mda that really pushed me to find my voice as a writer and a person. The way in which Mda told the painfully ugly effortlessly with compassion and humor encouraged me to write without fear. I wrote my novel for myself, to be quite honest. It was both therapeutic and entertaining to write these flawed women without interruption or judgment. It never occurred to me that the story I was writing wouldn't be mine forever. Once the Yearning was published, however, it ceased to be mine. As a first-time author, I had no idea what to expect. My favorite revelation is that readers will stop me in the street or while I'm minding my business to say, "Hey, wena Mohale, we need a sequel. I have so many questions." That is one of my favorite things about meeting fellow readers, the passion. Stories matter, and so do the voices of storytellers. When I first started writing The Yearning, I wondered if anyone would be interested in the life of a woman very much like myself. It is the very same doubt that keeps coming up in questions I get from young writers. Could anyone possibly be interested in the life of a boy or girl like me? It is a question I still get when young writers email me or call me for advice. The answer is never satisfactory. Your story matters, and so does your voice. Who can blame them for thinking that they do not belong in the literary world? I often feel that way, and I am now part of this world. How do we remedy this? We keep writing, show up for each other, read outside of our comfort zones, give different voices a platform, buy self-published books, read each other's stories, and never forget, all stories matter. The Yearning is my small contribution towards putting us, who are barely in books and stories as whole people, in literature, because we do belong. Our stories are valid. It is especially important in a country that has for many years let stories get buried in unmarked graves. The Yearning had been rejected so many times that I was convinced it was not a story worth reading. With encouragement from friends, I began to look at self-publishing. Money was saved, strategies were written on a whiteboard in my dining room, and final numbers came to 100. That's the number of copies I could afford to print. Ma was a huge part of my marketing plans. She was going to harass church ladies into buying copies of her favorite only daughter's novel. Ba was to stand at the gate and accost young people who would eventually buy the book because they would grow tired of his sales pitch. Looking back, I can see that perhaps my marketing strategy was not the best. My editor, Elana Brechen, convinced me to try one more publisher. Had I not, Ma would no longer have any church friends. Elana showed me that it is the duty of those on the inside to let outsiders in through the trapdoors, and that while trapdoors may exist, it is better to have the doors open to all. My aim was to sell 100 copies of this novel, with the hope that somebody, somewhere, would see themselves in the story. Looks like I've achieved that, and a little more. If a girl from Soweto can go from racy, Sweet Valley High fan fiction to The Yearning, imagine the millions of stories that are just waiting to be written and read. Your story matters. And this was written by Mohale in 2017 when this paperback was printed. I don't know how many times has The Yearning been published, but this story for me still stands out as one of my absolute favorites. And when I read this last week, I wanted to cry because that is how I fell in love with the color purple as well. I think I've told the story before, but for the benefit of those who've never heard it, I used to go to the city library when I started high school in grade 8 in Bloemfontein. The library was my favorite place. If I wasn't at hockey practice, when I started going to hockey, I was at the library up until it was time for me to go home. I would be in the teenage section, and the librarian one day chased me out. And that's how I ended up in the adult section. And I like how I read my magazines. I started at the back. So I started at Z and W. And by the time I was at W, I remembered Alice Walker. I'd seen Alice Walker somewhere. And I picked up The Color Purple. And yeah, so that is how I fell in love with The Color Purple by Alice Walker. And I've since talked about The Color Purple a number of times, but I still cannot articulate it the way I feel about it enough. But Mohale put it in words. I saw myself, I saw the letters. I loved reading the book. Like, yeah, and the movie as well. And I have since gone and watched the play. Like, guys, The Color Purple, I literally saw myself and people like me. So imagine like the number of stories that would have never been told if, I think Mohale still has a lot of stories inside of her. And imagine if she had just gone and printed only 100, and then what, you know? And yeah, so I loved reading this prologue or this author's note when I found this, when I paged through this new book, this my new copy. And yeah, I think I felt the same when I read the Yearning, because I just felt like, wow. So maybe I'm due for a reread of this new copy, because I read my copy in 2016. Yeah, in 2016. So I need to reread it, just like how I reread The Color Purple in preparation for the play at the time. So I want to leave you with a question. What is that one book? Maybe then that would be our conversation for Sunday when we do a catch-up. I'll try and keep it short on Sunday, because I think I also need to relook my plan of having a wind down and a bookish catch-up on Sunday evenings. Yeah, I still need to think about that. But yeah, maybe then Sunday should be that. What is that one book that made you feel like you were seen? And I felt, well, for me, I felt like what Mohale is saying. I felt like she wrote the book firstly for herself. And that is so important for me as a reader, to see that this author is writing firstly for herself or themselves. So yeah, let's have this discussion on Sunday evening when we do a short catch-up of what you've been reading. And I will see you guys on Sunday night at 8 p.m. Thank you for joining me. I see this video has taken a longer turn and I have to go and fetch the twins now. But yeah, I will see you on Sunday. And thank you for watching and staying this long if you're still watching. Please continue to subscribe, like, and share my videos. And please be patient with yourself. I'm trying to be patient with myself, and I'm trying to learn how to be patient with others. Yeah, it's a journey of learning and unlearning. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. I will see you on Sunday, or on the streets, on the Instagram and the Facebook and the Twitter streets. Thank you guys. Bye.